So here's a few pieces of the BMW sitting on the Saab. All intake piping, and that's the AC compressor. AC doesn't work. There's supposed to be a pulley there, and it is broken off. Somebody put on a shorter belt. So when I charged this up, I heard hissing over here, which means more than likely this compressor seals are shot in it, probably seized up. So I have a AC compressor on order and a belt. Someone definitely hacked that and did not want to put AC compressor on it. Getting that off, I haven't even looked at where the bolts. It looks like there's one down there. There's probably going to be some down on the bottom. And I was thinking, well, maybe we can pull the fender liner out. There's a frame rail right beside the AC compressor, so that may have to get from the top and pop some of these lines off. And they all look like coolant lines. Actually, that's not. That is power steering. A mix of pipes. Oh joy, the fun continues. Out. I just took this belt off. Relatively new looking belt. And it's new because the AC compressor has no pulley on it. It seized apparently, and either the pulley broke because it's crap, or someone busted the pulley off and got a shorter belt to run the car without AC. So, yeah. I was running the car last weekend, charging the AC. You know, it seemed to cool down a little bit, then it didn't, and I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't cool down, and I shut the car off and I heard psst. Well, it's coming from there. It was cooling because it was actually circulating the refrigerant out of the system enough to actually cool the evaporator coil down. But I got the tensioner out. I have a new tensioner, a complete kit with new idler pulleys, a proper length belt, and also we're going to do a full service on it. Filter, air filter, oil change, particulate filters up there. Those things just pop out. There's one on each side that has a charcoal type woven particle filter for your outside air. Big mess, big mess. I mean, and they didn't even clean the oil. I've already cleaned this block twice with degreaser and super clean. And right down here, I don't know if you can see it. Shredded belt and oil everywhere. It's even on the freaking frame. I mean, how can you own a car this expensive and treat it this bad? I just don't get people. I wouldn't do this to a freaking Pinto. I mean, this is ridiculous. Freaking $60,000 car. Frankly, the engine ain't worth that, but so far everything seems okay with general operation of the engine. It idles fine, it revs fine. The turbos seem okay. I'm hoping that with new idlers down here and a new tensioner that the noise will go away that I'm hearing down here, and also with a new filter. I suspect it may be sucking air in here, trying to pull oil through the turbos and everything. So it does not seem to be the alternator, which looks relatively new. Bluetooth does not work. I suspect that the what is it, LCU, the module in the trunk, is bad. I cannot check or uncheck the Bluetooth option in iDrive. So it gets better. It gets better and better and better as I go through this car. So not quite the Saab story, but looks like it's gonna be along the same lines, except I paid $200 for the Saab. It had a rusted chassis that I had to repair. I paid $5 grand for this. I probably should have paid $3, but the lady that sold it was selling it for her son. He got deployed in November. This was his car, and she didn't know anything about it. It ran, so she moved it from one place to another, and it sat there since November. So she never drove it, didn't know anything about this. Sight unseen. I ran it. I checked the engine over. You can't see any of this stuff. None of the drive accessories you can see with the trim on the car. You can't see any of it. So based on what I heard and based on how it acted, you know, looking at the frame underneath and suspension and everything, the interior was in good shape. So all in all, did I get my money's worth? No, I don't think I did. But it's mine now.